Hey, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to APS Amplifier. Today, I actually have a special guest to talk about a Yu-Gi-Oh topic that has been just a big discussion point in the community over the last few years. This is Marcus Hayden. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, so I wanted to get your opinion on the Yu-Gi-Oh prize support conversation because there's so much to say about it, and I have my own set of like opinions on what Yu-Gi-Oh pricing could be or whatever, but I wanted to get the opinion of somebody who is kind of more, I guess, on the ground with it, somebody who's more experienced. You have won a lot of events, topped a lot of events. Tell me a little about it. What are your major Yu-Gi-Oh accolades?
Yeah, so in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess I started playing competitively a lot in like 2015 through 2019 was really the era I played. I have six Konami tops, so that's YCSs and nationals. I've won a YCS. I've won an ARG back when they were running their circuits, and have a few tops with them as well. But I guess more recently, I started playing in the Ultimate Time Wizard events, and I just got third at YCS Orlando with that.
Awesome. Congratulations, first of all. I know that is no easy task. It really is not. Yu-Gi-Oh! Prize support, this is something that, and we talked a little bit about this just off camera, that, Yu-Gi-Oh! Prize support kind of feels like it's in a weird spot. Like the common thing I hear from people is Yu-Gi-Oh! Prizing sucks, right? Like people are like, they should do better. It's not, it doesn't feel like it's worth it to go to these events and win these events. But I think that it'll be interesting to hear a little bit more just from you because you've been there, right? Like you've won these things, you've topped these
Right.
things. When just at a like broad level,
hmm
when you're playing at these sorts of events and you win, what are you like looking for in prizing? Would you say that you're just like, is it kind of like I'm just doing it for love of the game, which is a okay answer to give too,
Right.
or like just what do you think makes a good prize? What makes it feel meaningful?
Yeah, so I guess initially it was always just for the love of the game, because like obviously if I was solely focused on prize, there's definitely a lot of other avenues you're looking at. Um, However, it is kind of disappointing. Like when I won my first YCS, I was so stoked, and then to find out that I literally sold everything but my trophy right here, and I didn't even get $2,000, and that's for like winning that. Versus if you look at like competitors, it's like astronomically more than that for first place. So it was like a disappointing after the fact sort of thing. And now for today, I just play this game solely for the love, because I know like I've been at the top. I know that the prize isn't there, but I will say for Ultimate Time Wizard, it's like three times that amount if you win. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I guess.
actually that I'm glad you mentioned that because that is something I want to get into here in a bit as well. Is kind of the way that it feels like prizing has become a little like it almost imbalanced between sort of main events and public events. So right now, here is currently what you are getting in a main event at a YCS in 2025. I looked it up just to make sure. So first place, this is from YCS Orlando. If I was to win the main event this past weekend, at least when we were recording this, I would get an ultra rare YCS prize card, which is currently another verse Solaria. You get a YCS Championship Series premium branded messenger bag. I forgot they did those. A Steam Deck, which I know that was recently updated from the
Yeah.
meme that was the Nintendo Switch. An invite and VIP status at the next World Championship qualifier tournament. So, does that mean the next, just like a regional?
Nationals.
National?
No,
Oh,
the
yeah,
next
yeah, yeah.
nationals.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Gotcha. So, you are getting a Nats invite that way. Cool.
Yeah, and two buys.
Yeah, okay. And then you also get a dice set, YCS dice set, YCS sleeves, a YCS memorabilia card frame, and a top cut game mat. And it kind of goes down. Second place gets the super rare version of the card. Looks like that goes down to second and third, I believe, right?
Yeah, for the prize cards, they get the supers.
Okay, and then just like a couple less prizes as it goes, and it kind of goes all the way down to like 32nd place. With 32nd just getting the invite to nationals, the sleeves, and the top cut mat.
Right.
So like level with me here. Is this good or bad? Like And you can be honest, like, you remember you've practiced for this
Yeah.
YCS, you've played, likely the equivalent of like 12 rounds and like, a top cut. Like, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I love Konami and I love Yu-Gi-Oh, so please don't come after me for this, but this pricing is kind of atrocious, dude. And what's crazy is that they've upped it since from when I won. Like when I won, I got a gaming console, I got a prize card, my trophy, and top cut mat and sleeves. That was it. I didn't get like the bag and some of the extra things that they're giving now. But it's still just not substantial enough. Like I have friends who've won big Pokemon events telling me about their 10,000 in cash that they're winning. Like
I
it's
know,
like
yeah.
not even comparable.
That's actually wild to me. I know, so my understanding of pricing right now is that cash is just off the table.
Yeah.
That's, unofficially just what it seems like I've heard. Something to do with Yu-Gi-Oh's licensing agreement. It's just something Konami's
Hmm.
not going to be able to do. But I honestly have been thinking that, like, even without cash, I think that we could be doing better than what this is. Um, let's talk prize cards.
Sure.
So another Versalaria. My opinion of this card is that it is cool looking and all of that. I don't think that this card has really any star power to me. Like, I know that the objective of getting a prize card is like you could just hold on to it if you wanted to, but most people kind of seem like they want to sell them just because that's a way of recouping the cost. How does another verse Solaria look to you, maybe compared to some past prize cards and things like that?
Yeah, I guess more recently, like both the another verse prize cards that have been for the last 2 years. The issue I have with them is not only is there no star power like you're saying, so it's like less of a chase card for people who are less competitive, but they're also just normal monsters without like real effects. And
Yeah.
so like they're not even useful on the competitive sides of things because prize cards once upon a time like Giant Hand and Minerva like had good effects at the competitive level that helped bring up their value. um so it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like neither community of player really wants them.
Yeah,
So
that's true. I was thinking actually about like how so there's a kind of a conflict of playability with prize cards, I think. Like some people don't want prize cards to be like extremely playable because in their
mhm,
view, and like understandably in their view, it's like, well, and I'm thinking almost back to like Y or SJC era Yu-Gi-Oh where
yeah,
like, Shrink or Crush Card Virus being like a prize card. Where it's just like if you have that and the field does not have it, and it's like a powerful card like Crush Card or Shrink or something,
sure.
is that fair or not? Or do you think that, well, this person won the YCS or, topped the YCS, like they deserve to have that edge? Like, where do you land on that?
Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting because it probably isn't fair, but it would make the prize card just so much more coveted. So, in terms of the value of the prize you're getting, it would be worth so much more if that advantage exists. And I think that alone would be like enough reason. Obviously, it can't be to a point where it's like it's just so cracked that you're just going to win every event with it. But
Yeah,
um,
I think they landed at a pretty good spot actually with Giant Hand of all things.
yeah, 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 no, I agree.
Like where it's not like, if I'm remembering it correctly, it was a very good card and it's like kind of rank
Hmm.
4 toolbox thing at the time. But it's not overwhelming. Like it never really felt to me anyway like having it would be special, but also it's not like it's winning every game for you or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I agree because it's like the 14th or 15th card in your extra deck normally, and it's like, you could be playing a different card over it, but it has a strong enough effect that it definitely would come up. Like it would come up in games and could even help you win some games. So those types of cards, I agree, are probably like the nice sweet spot for a prize card.
Yeah, I think conversely, I remember when we were doing Minerva as a prize and also Chaos Emperor Dragon as a prize, like the pendulum one. I feel like for some people that kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because like Minerva's like literally an archetype card, so
Yeah.
that feels like if you are like if you just play Light Sword, it feels almost a little unfair. So I wasn't as big of a fan of that being a prize. The Chaos Emperor Dragon, like, it's it sort of barred you from playing like what was it at the time, like dragon, kind of like Thunder Dragon,
Yeah, the
just
Thunder Dragon
danger
LP.
thunder thing,
Yeah, Guardians.
guard dragon.
Yep,
Yeah.
Guard
So
Dragons. Yep.
not sure if I those are a weird case. Like, how do you feel about that? Where it's like, okay, the Thunder Guard Dragon deck exists, but by
hmm
having this card, it is significantly better. Like, do you think that should be locked behind a prize card, or?
Yeah, it's so tough to say. Like I said, in ideal world, like there's a sweet spot for it. But I mean, Konami never really deals in like this idealistic setup, right? Like there's always something that feels unfair.
True.
Um, like UDS buys, should that last forever? Like the people who've won UDS belts, should they always get 2 round buys in perpetuity? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
that is actually. Well, you know what? We're gonna divert from the topic real quick because I do want your opinion on this because I've heard like
sure.
plenty of people who just from the outside looking in. As a person who you have like won a YCS, like you've topped things. How do you feel about the UDS buy? This isn't related to prize support, guys, but I just figure like we've got someone very talented on. We got to ask them.
Oh, you're making me blush. Yeah, so I think that it was really cool when it came out. And if you won a UDS and it was your prize for, let's say, it was good for a year, you got to keep the belt afterwards as your prize, like as your trophy to show off. That would be great. But the fact that it lasts forever, is honestly just like a different level of unfair. Like now I wish my event win was a UDS rather than a YCS, and it just so happened because I won a different event, um,
Yeah,
that I don't
yeah.
have that benefit.
Just for
So that's how I feel.
context, by the way, if anybody who's like wondering what we're talking about, so back when Yu-Gi-Oh had, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but back when Yu-Gi-Oh did have the UDS series, they stopped it in like 2020. But back when they did the UDS series, there were these sort of invite only events. Like you had to qualify for them by getting UDS points, playing at like regionals and other things. And basically, if you won a UDS, there were usually like a couple of them per year, like maybe 2 or 3. And
Yeah.
if you won a UDS, you get 2 buys at future YCS events forever. So
hmm
obviously these were very, very skilled players. They had to qualify. If you were winning a YC or winning a UDS, you're definitely like cream of the crop. And so the idea of getting floated 2 buys your first 2 rounds at a YCS is a worthwhile prize for somebody like that. But the controversy sort of comes up when it's like, UDS have stopped, so nobody new can ever get that prize anymore. Like they can never get that privilege. And then also, should you be able to skip 2 rounds of a YCS for the rest of your Yu-Gi-Oh career, especially, at least in my opinion, given that the floor of competition feels a little higher these days. Like it just
Right.
feels like more people are on average just informed about, decks, combo lines, hand trap points. Like it feels like getting a buy maybe in 2011 would just be a lot different than getting a buy in like 2025 because your first 2 rounds could potentially just be like very dangerous top level players that you would otherwise lose to. So
hmm
so
Yeah, no,
I
you hit the nail on the head, dude.
yeah, like I'm team. I think that they should just have it made it expire like maybe after 2 years or so. I don't know, but
Yeah, and they also didn't they have like a big UDS championship where all the UDS champions played in it and Jesse Cotton won?
yeah, they
Like
did. That was last
if
year.
he had it forever, so be it. Like that's
Yeah,
like a different level. You earned it, but then like they should have a deadline for everyone else's.
yeah. I think it is something that kind of I won't get into it too much more, but I do think that there's like kind of an anti-competitive aspect to it, just because it's like,
Mhm.
come on, like. Anyway, though, that is part of the pricing though that you do get
It is.
at these YCS events, at least like for the next event you go to, which I think is like a fair thing. Like if it's like the next one event or something, that's fine. But yeah. Another thing though on this prize card thing. So another verse, Glutonia was the first one, Solaria is the second one. My assumption is that they're gonna maybe do like a third so that there's a trio or something. And
Right.
perhaps like if a person had all 3, there's some implied like that's special maybe. But what we were talking about that I think is a really good middle ground for this is you could do just like kind of iconic anime cards, like a prize Blue Eyes or a prize Dark Magician. For collectors, that'd
Right.
probably be a big deal. But the one that sounds a lot more attractive to me, and I want to run this by you, is alternate art versions, or we could say in some ways serialized versions of existing competitive cards. So I'm thinking like an alt art Ash Blossom in Joyous Spring, right? Just a
Right.
card that everyone's pretty much running in decks, and you have won this YCS, or you've gotten like top 3 at this YCS, and you get an alt art version of it. And the reason I think this would be a good idea is it is not a card that's being pay gated from anybody. Like I can run my common Ash from the last structure deck, but you who won get one of very few Ash Blossoms that looks different. It looks special, and I think it kind of speaks to the whole like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players kind of want to have a flex, something that
Mhm.
just they have, people don't have it. The Ash is doing the same thing, but it feels different. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I honestly think that would be like insane. Like it would be so awesome, and then they can stamp like the bottom of the cards to like be like YCS Orlando,
Yes.
YCS Anaheim, and it's like not only is it like this card that the field just does not have, but it's literally a one of one because it's stamped for that event.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that would drive up the price substantially. They would be used way more substantially. And like you said, no one's like losing out or being pay gated because if my Raigeki is stamped like this, you can still go get a Raigeki out of, the last Megaton or whatever. So,
Yeah. Another thing you mentioned that I think is a really great point is that, or at least it kind of is a point against these like another verse cards and some of the other recent prizes is like they use these prizes for a whole year.
mhm.
Do you like that or maybe not so much?
No, not at all. And it's like I said, it's the whole like it's not one of one anymore. When there's 8 ultra rare and 30 some odd super rare prize cards floating around after all the events for that season have occurred. It just and it's actually more than that for the super rare because I think they give out like 16 at Nats or something.
Oh yeah, that's
So
true.
yeah, so it's like substantial amount of these prize cards floating out there. And yeah, I mean it just kills the price. I mean, I'll tell you this, I've won a prize card at a beginning of a season, a super rare, sold it for like $1,000, and then later in that same season won a prize card at nationals from top 16ing, and then that card's worth $200. Like
Oh
it-
goodness.
yeah, it's crazy. And maybe it's changed some where they hold a little bit better, but yeah, if it were one of one, I promise you, super rare prize cards would be what the ultra rares are worth, and ultra rares, who knows, the moon's the limit. So
That's another thing too is roughly how much of value are we looking to recoup for a YCS win? Like for you, let's assume you're flying across the country, and
mhm.
also you can factor in like hotel, miscellaneous expense, like food and stuff, and then also even
Sure.
kind of some of the time that goes into the play testing, the prep, and all of that on top of maybe what your deck costs. How much money, just ballpark estimate, do you think would, if you had to put a price kind of on like to winning or topping like a modern day YCS, what would you want to recoup from your prizing?
Yeah, I guess in my head, if I could like, so I think to make it really feel premier and worth it and make me want to go to every event, then like top 16 should cover my event. Like it should cover my expenses, hotel, which like 5 to 6, $700 would be awesome, worth of value. But then if I win, if it feels premier, I'd expect it to be like 10x that at least, like 7K. And that's the beauty of like Ultimate Time Wizard is like that's what these giant cards go for.
Yeah, I know, because yeah, we're gonna get into that. Don't worry. I have so many thoughts. Like I was, I don't want to compare too much game to game. I know like Pokemon and Lorcana and all these games are very much they're different games, but like Pokemon TCG first place at their sort of equivalent to a a national tournament is I believe it's like for Masters Division like $10,000 for first place or something
Yeah, I
like that.
mean,
Like I had pulled that
yeah,
up. And then like even
yeah,
second place is like 7,000, third and fourth is 5. Like
it's crazy.
it's
And like it would be sweet if that was the case for us. Um, but yeah, there's just definitely and I think it doesn't have to be cash. Like it really doesn't. You just have to make the exclusivity of what you're winning be like worth something. And the issue is Konami, it almost feels like, I don't want to bash anyone, but it almost feels lazy, like how they handle their
It
pricing.
it does feel like I guess just to sort of finish up on like the main event pricing thing is like I think that this is stuff that they probably can get in bulk themselves. Like I was thinking about like why have they been, giving out this Switch for 5 years or whatever, and then finally recently changed it. And I'm thinking it's like maybe they got kind of just a bulk corporate like B2B discount on a bunch of Switches, and so like, okay, this is going to be the pricing for the next 5 years. The metal dice set, the sleeves, they how do you feel about those? I don't like, I'm kind of mixed on them. Like I think that they are cool to probably have like one set of like the metal dice and like
Right.
one of them. I feel like a lot like the cards though, having multiples starts to maybe lose some of its luster, and like where do you land on that stuff?
Yeah, so I think like if it were me, these prizes, like, and yeah, it would cost them a little bit more money, but I think it should be unique event to event. Like everything that you're winning, your mat should always be different, prize cards should be different,
Mm-hmm.
dice should be different. But I do think with the dice and sleeves, I'm less carrying on that, um, because like after I win one, I'll probably keep the first one just because how cheap they really are. And then after that, if I want to give them to a friend or sell them on eBay or whatever, then like so be it. I think it's like the substantial prize, like the prize cards and stuff, and also the mats, because I remember back in the day when there would be an exclusive mat for an event, like the 100th YCS or 250th YCS, all that stuff. Like those mats would be worth substantially more than the normal season's mats.
Yeah, I have heard that there's been a lot less interest in the mats in recent years. I don't know, is that
Mhm.
true? Maybe no.
Yeah, no, definitely. Unless, like I said, unless it's a special event, like like one of the milestone YCSs. Yeah, they're pretty low these days.
I think that just a quick thing on the mats. I think that they should do more of what they did with like the old UDS mats, where it was like the kind of almost embossed like cloth mats. I've seen a
Hmm.
few of those. I think that would be a really cool thing to implement into mainline YCS events. Just seems like it would, like, just kind of like, I think across the board, upping the exclusivity of every individual thing would actually get around the cash problem like more.
No, I agree completely. I think that's like if you can't do cash, that's the way to do it. Because it the way it's like supply and demand, right? If you make just supply really low for the items you're giving out at each event, then like the demand for those products are going to be up substantially. But if you keep giving out the same supply over and over, it's like the demand goes down and then interest goes down on top of, what we had discussed earlier. If it's something people just blatantly don't want because they're not chase cards, they're not anime cards, they're not like
Yeah, they're kind
just
of
these
random.
perennial cards. Yeah,
Okay, last quick thought on this, because I just thought of one
sure.
last thing. I was looking at ninth to 16th place, and this
Hmm.
is so bizarre to me that this seems to only be for ninth to 16th place, is 24 booster packs of the current booster release. Do and only ninth to 16th get this. First to 8th does not, and also 17th to 32nd does not. I think this is an interesting prize. Like, I guess giving a box, like, that's not so bad. But A, why is it only them? And then B, like, more importantly, what do you think of like sealed product as pricing? Maybe
Yeah,
more so than just like a single box. Maybe if like a first place is getting like a case, in addition to the other things we've discussed. What do you think of that stuff?
sure. Yeah, I mean, so the issue is the people who are doing really well at these events typically have a lot of these cards from these new sets because they'll need them for their decks. Konami's really
True.
good about making their newest sets have like important cards to play for events. So I feel like to those players, it means a lot less.
True,
Um,
true, true.
but but in the same regard, I'm not opposed to doing some sort of like imagine if they had a pack that they only gave out to top cut YCS candidates, like an OTS pack, but you can only get it from topping an event.
Oh,
Like how
that
cool would that be?
there is something actually, because that could even be a set that does not have to even be like event specific. It could be like year specific.
Hmm.
So it's just like, okay, all the 2025 YCS events have this like OTS pack. You know, you open it, you get 3 cards, and it's like that's a lot of encouragement to. And the set could be like only 10 cards big, right, or something like that.
Sure.
You can
Yeah,
three
yeah.
of 10 cards, but it means that like for a person that is able to top even like 2 YCS events in 1 year, or like 3, just top them, like get 32nd place. There is something really big there. Like I think that could be really great, and you could do the same kind of like structure. Like there's 2 or 3 ultis, a few supers, whatever. But
Yep.
like that's something I just always thought like it wouldn't. What would be the harm in like wheeling out a parcel? Like here, like YCS just ended. Someone goes behind the little curtain, wheels out a pallet of just cases of Supreme Darkness or Rage of the Abyss or whatever, and just kind of like, because since we are not doing cash, I think that we should be doing like everything but the kitchen sink, if you know what I mean. Like it just
Yeah.
these people should be getting, first place gets a case, second place gets 6 or 8 boxes, kind of just more. Like I know that I would assume anyway that it doesn't cost Konami much to just give the product out. So I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
I agree completely. Like literally anything extra is better than, not having it. So
Yeah, because a
I
person could
agree
sell this stuff.
wholeheartedly.
They could sell the
Hmm.
unopened boxes, and that there's something there. Anyway, okay, so let's quickly pivot over then to the public events side of things. You just won, or got third place rather, right?
Yeah.
In Ultimate
Correct.
Time Wizard. And Ultimate Time Wizard itself has been a format that's like really popping off at YCSs. I have heard people are like, I'm only going to this YCS for UTW. That's what I'm like, playtesting for. There's a lot of notoriety that's coming with it too.
Hmm.
First of all, tell me a bit about like the upper echelon of like Ultimate Time Wizard. Like, do you feel like it's the same level of like cutthroat skill that you were seeing when you were, doing like modern YCSs?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think the upper echelon is really strong. And a lot of it's because, like, it's other people like me who played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh at the highest level in current format. But then, once you have a full-time job and you're not able to dedicate the same time to Yu-Gi-Oh, being able to go back to a retro format where like you can kind of invest the time once and you have it in your back pocket,
Mm-hmm.
and come back to it. Uh, there's a lot of others like that. Like in this last one, Andres Torres played, and he's won like a bunch of events. Fraser Smith played. He's won one of these. He's won a YCS. Oscar Zelaya played. He's a YCS champion. I played.
Oh, I had
So
not
like,
considered that. That's interesting. So it's
yep.
it's a very like, I don't want to say you can like coast on your fundamentals, but it's a format that like once you have the skill set, once you have the cards that you need, it's it's not such a treadmill like the modern format can be, or like advanced
Yes.
format.
Yep. And it doesn't evolve in the same way. Like sometimes someone will figure out innovation. I can dedicate 10 hours one week to learning that deck. And I kind of now have that in my arsenal. Whereas like it almost felt like when I was playing current every month and a half, the format's changing either because of a new set, a new ban list, a new structure deck, like, so it's just and on top of innovations happening. Right. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just, at the highest level, if you can't dedicate the necessary time to succeed in current format, then I think you'd love playing Ultimate Time Wizard. And it's still super skill based. Like it's not often where I play a game and I feel like, oh, my opponent just went first and sacked me. Like, and I had that issue sometimes in current, back when I was playing at least, where your opponent just ends on like 5 negates, and I'm just like, oh, I didn't draw my one card that negates
Yeah,
the entire board. I lose. Like
yeah. That
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 doesn't happen.
so that's actually something that I've noticed too, is that like people are going to these events specifically for like Edison Ultimate Time Wizard, and like I was looking at when I see the pricing for public events. Now I know it's sometimes kind of works differently. Like there's Attack of the Giant card, which it seems that's kind of always the thing. Like first place gets the giant ones, second and third get the oversized ones. It feels like public events are getting better pricing, dare I say, than main events, and it's because, at least to me, like I've recently been in the market, for getting like giant cards,
Yep.
and I'm realizing like some of these giant cards just go for like thousands and thousands, And even, some of the oversized cards like can go for, several hundred to over 1,000. And it's like, what do you think it is about giant cards and also like uncut sheets? That kind of pops up a lot.
Hmm.
That is so much more desirable than just the prize card.
Right. So this is also something we talked about a little bit off camera, but I think the fact that it is like right there in your face and giant cards, they're always picking like everyone's favorite cards. Like for us, it was like Pot of Greed, Rescue Cat, Black Rose Dragon,
Yeah.
Dark Arm. Like these have all been giant cards, Caius, right? And the fact that it's people's favorite cards, they're massive hollow cards typically, and it is just in your face. Like someone walks in a room and that's hanging on your wall. It is very apparent that you won something awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Whereas,
agree.
yeah, whereas like these other prize cards, like my vanilla tiny another verse dragon is like no one sees it. It's gonna sit in like maybe a little display in the corner of the room, and it's for all you know, I could have just pulled a cool card out of a set and I'm just displaying it. Like you wouldn't know.
Right. I was
Um,
thinking the same thing. Like I feel like with the giant card, and this is from somebody I have not won one, so or at least not like at a YCS or anything like that. So to me, I think like with prizing, I almost would want something that when a non Yu-Gi-Oh person sees it, they don't have to know exactly what it is, but they kind of like be like, oh, that's important. And I think
right.
that's something that giant cards do really well is like when you see a giant card, it's like, okay, there's a story here. This is clearly not something normal. Like, you had to win this. This must be valuable. It must be something iconic. And then also they're doing what we were saying for those giant cards where like they're picking Rescue Cat, like they're picking
Mhm.
Caius. They're picking these cards that this is a card that might have been played in your final round at UTW. You know what I mean? Like was like a
Yeah,
Caius or
yeah,
something. And nobody was playing like another verse Solaria in the finals of YCS Orlando. You know what I mean? So it's like I think that's a big part of it. And same with the uncut sheets. Like it almost just feels like this peek behind the curtain. Like when you see an
yeah.
uncut sheet, like it's just like, oh man, like this is almost like it's like straight from the factory. Like you'd have to be very well connected to get something like this. And
Yep.
so that has like a flex value to it as well. Why do you think that they ended up just doing this for public events though? Like, do you have
Yeah,
any?
it's kind of weird. I can't think of a good explanation to be honest. Um, because I think it's so cool that they do it for public events. And the other cool thing for public events is while I'm playing in these tournaments and doing well in these Ultimate Time Wizards, I'm also amassing tickets, and you can use these tickets to redeem uh other cool prizes from public events, like uncut sheets, like additional mats, like like just pen pads, card sleeves, all these different things.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
just on top of it.
it's kind of strange because it almost feels like the time investment. And I hate to put it this way, but it's like if you're going to a YCS anyway, and I've heard people do this, is just like go and grind public events, like grind Winamats, do like Attack of the Giant card or like 3v3 on Sunday and things like that because like it feels like you're kind of just getting more bang for your buck. And in at least from when I've been at like YCS events, I can do like flights of Winamats all
Hmm.
day. Like, I can get several of those, several reps of that in the time that maybe like the main event is happening. I could do more public events and potentially get like prizing that's just a little bit more worthwhile, like in a more feasible way. Cause I mean, like, we've mostly been talking about like what the first place, second place, third place in these main events get. The amount of trouble to even get like 32nd place and you're not really getting loads for it. Like, would I rather get 32nd place at the YCS or would I rather, win Ultimate Time Wizard or just get a lot of like tickets and stuff, get some giant card somehow or some oversized card. Like it feels like it's not even a one-to-one time investment. Maybe that's like a hot take, I don't know, but
I don't think it's a hot take at all. I think that it honestly pays. Like I've had friends who done that. If your goal is not solely just glory, like if that's your only goal, I completely understand playing the main event. Um, But if your goal is like to maximize time to investment, right? Like then you are entirely correct. It would pay you so much more to play in these side events. And then on top of that, you can if you play it enough, you can get put into the tournament at the end of the day to win a prize card. Um,
Yeah.
because they do that as well based on, whoever has the most side event points or whatever
Wait,
from
wait, wait.
entering
Like,
side
is that
events.
just like each YCS, like just at the end of the? How does that
Yeah.
work?
So you enter side events, and you accumulate like X amount of points for how well you do in the side events. And maybe they don't do this anymore, but I'm pretty sure they do. They've done it for since I started playing. And then basically at the end of the event, they'll take like two people that way, maybe like another two random people, and then they just play in like a mini 4 or sometimes 8-man tournament,
Oh,
and the winner gets a whatever the prize card was for the event, a super rare version of it.
that is actually really cool. I did not know about this. Something else I didn't know
Mhm.
about was like that at the end of Swiss in the main event, the person who goes undefeated, because I guess it's only going to be one person, does get a giant card.
Oh,
So
they do?
yeah, that's something that's very. They've been doing that for a while too. I only recently found out about that. So that's kind of random. It's cool because it's like I guess if you were to just go undefeated in Swiss, then technically your prizing might be better than like that you could go on and not
A
even like
winner?
win the thing. Yeah, like it's because I mean I'm telling you I've seen the prices of these giant cards. I'm just like man, I'd really rather have that than another verse card.
Oh, for sure. And I selfishly, I wish they started giving out uncut sheets as the major prize. 'Cause I want one of those. Like I actually, like you said, the behind the curtains look. Also, it just feels like something that over time's only going to go up.
I know. Yeah, like it's just kind of crazy because it's just all it feels like it's just this culmination of all the reasons I feel like we've been talking about, which is just that like the uncut sheet. I mean, that's like a snapshot in time. Like it's never gonna come back. Like you just
Hmm.
once you have that like this uncut sheet of a set from 2025 could be everything in like a few years. Like so okay, I guess to capstone this on it, I guess if that's the word for it. Generally speaking, you if you had to give a grade to like what prize support is like right now, like you rank it in a tier or like a letter grade or whatever, A plus, B
Sure.
minus, where are you landing? And then we'll get into my second thing, which is going to be if we had to fix three specific points about it, like three specific points
Mhm.
about just main event prizing. This can be for first only, it can be for top 32, top 8, whatever. But first of all, like what is our current grade that we're looking at for prizing right now in Yu-Gi-Oh?
Sure. So I guess since they upped it for the main event a little bit by adding a couple new things, I would give the main event like a D plus, and previously I would have given it much worse. So
Oh,
I
harsh
don't mean to
grade,
sound
yeah.
mean.
No, no,
Yeah, I
no,
don't mean
no.
to sound too mean.
Hey,
But it's just in comparison to all the other competitive card games, as well as even Konami's own side events. Because I'd give our side events like a B. Like
mhm.
it's super cool. Like I said, with that number I gave you earlier, like 7K was the number that like to make me happy. I would consider that like a B because that's enough to make me happy, and that's what you basically get if you win a one of these giant cards, especially for the Ultimate Time Wizard, because it's always been one of these chase cards.
Yeah, I was gonna say my grade was gonna be like a C minus, and that's just because
Hmm.
I feel like I tend to be, I try to be generous. Like I know that these events for Konami are probably not super profitable. Like they exist as competition, not just like sales. So I mean, I know it costs a lot to put these on, but I still simultaneously think that the solutions that are available are just I can't give it anything better than like a C minus. Like
Hmm.
just because I think that there are things that they can be doing that would not cost a lot. Like we're not sitting here suggesting cash where these are just things that already kind of exist in the prize world. So what are the three things that would improve it the most? At
Okay,
main event YCS stuff, just based on everything we've talked about,
right.
how are we
I
feeling?
I think the three things is you got to make the prize feel exclusive. That's the biggest one, and that can be done in a variety of ways, right? Um, so I think it's got to be exclusive.
So we're thinking like,
Uh,
kind of event exclusivity.
yes, event exclusivity.
Or
Exclusivity.
or or at bet or even just gonna throw this out there, even just like season exclusivity. Like even if it was just kind of like the Supreme Darkness season, like, maybe that's like 4 YCSs, 3 or 4, something, like that.
Right. No, I agree completely. I think that would be the first one. Second one is I think the cards you're making your prizes have to be things people want, whether it's just because their cards are good or because, like you were saying, like they're just these perennial cards, like a cool Dark Magician, some alt art Dark Magician that you can only get from a YCS or some different type of rarity.
Yeah,
Those are
another
the
verse,
first two.
whatever, is not cutting it.
Yep. No, I agree. And then third, I think not just for the prize cards, because I feel like that's kind of been the focus, but I also think the lower level prizing, like the mats, I think the mats should be different for every single event. And that's not one I'd move on because I feel like if you get top 32, like you still want to feel special about it. So
Yeah. No, for sure. I was gonna say, I think same thing. My biggest change would just be like, I think that you got to pick good prize cards. I think like that right now these another verse cards just aren't doing it for people. I just don't hear enthusiasm about them. I think the second thing is also am with you. I think event exclusivity seems like a huge deal. Serialized cards, it feels like that's like something I see a lot in like One Piece, especially I
yeah.
hear. And yeah, I think the third thing is probably like finding, and it kind of goes in the first, is just like making more of these mats and the sleeves and the dice sets kind of feel like they're event exclusive. But if I had to pick a different thing for my last point, it would probably be like, I don't think it would hurt to throw in some sealed product. Like, just on top of everything that we've said, I don't think that it would hurt. I know that, the person winning kind of already has these cards, but at least it's, you can sell the boxes, you can open the boxes and like sell what you get. Like, that feels like that would help a lot with like padding out like top 32, especially. Like, 17th to 32nd getting like, a box or two, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Like if you got top 32 at an event and you won a exclusive mat and got two sealed boxes, it's kind of like you went to your local case tournament and got like first or second place, you know what I mean? So that would definitely feel a lot better. I agree.
So yeah,
I'm hopeful. I'm still hopeful because I will say Konami has made some changes, especially recently.
true, true.
So I think they're moving in the right direction. We'll just have to wait and see though.
Yeah, well, honestly, Marcus, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate your insights. This was great. Like I said, you are a person who's like on the ground. You've been there. Um, I'm a YouTuber, right? Like, I see the
Yeah.
headlines of what's going on, but like, I'm not going to be the next YCS winner. So, yeah, like, where can the people follow you? What's your next event going to be?
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that. You guys can check me out on Facebook or Discord. It's just Marcus Hayden. Or if you guys want to check out my YouTube channel, I do a lot of exclusive retro format content with some great players, and that is at Meta Foes, kind of like the deck Metal Foes. That's the deck I won my YCS win. It's Meta Foes. Um, and I should be hopefully at YCS Vegas for the 3v3, but if not, I will definitely be at YCS Houston to play in the Ultimate Time Wizard event there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much again. I'll have all of his links down below in the description. And for those of you in the comments, weigh in. I really want to know what people think prize support could look like, should look like. I still feel like there's a lot of room for improvement for Konami, and I don't think it has to necessarily be cash, as we've hopefully sort of proven just through this conversation. All right.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you again for your time, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next one.